Okay. A little glitchy, but I think I don't know. I checked everything and everything shut down, so I guess I'm just gonna roll with it. Hopefully it'll be okay. Um, so today is day one of the 3-day massive happiness challenge. And so for today, tomorrow, and the next day, we're going to be tapping into just different issues having to do with increasing our happiness and things that, we don't typically think about. And, just kind of giving you guys some tips, and there's a few assignments, and so like today, you should have an email in your inbox if you signed up for this through the links I've been posting all week. Then you should have in your email, you should have the PDF that goes along with this training. And if you don't, just drop your email below and I'll make sure that you get that today. Because, if you haven't already signed up for that, I'll do that. And so to start out, so these next 3 days are going to be just different. This is going to be different ways of increasing our happiness. So today we're going to start talking about unconditional love, and I'm going to look a little bit at our, how we can increase love, increase the feeling of love for ourselves and the people around us. And then, tomorrow we'll shift gears a little bit. Each day is a little bit different topic, so I don't know if you guys saw that. But anybody who wants to sort of have healthier, happier relationships and increase your love in your life, that's what this program's for. If you, like I said, hi guys, leave your email below if you haven't already signed up to get the documents, the supporting documents, because those already went out by email today. There's a PDF assignment that you guys will get for that. So, all right, so the biggest thing over these 3 days that I want us to really start thinking about is that we need to start thinking bigger in our relationships. Meaning, this whole challenge is about increasing happiness and increasing love. So today, that's what we're talking about, and we can have a lot closer relationships with people than we even think we can, or that we give ourselves credit for. Hi, Amanda. So that's what I want us to really, over these 3 days, really start thinking about. Throughout our lives, we live our lives around people, but are we really connecting to those people? So that's what we're really going to be talking about here. So, first off, do you guys really believe that you have control over your happiness? Because that's really important. If we don't believe that we ultimately have control over our happiness, then that causes a lot of issues in our life. Because we do absolutely have control over our happiness level, at least to a degree, no matter what is going on in our lives. So, but it takes a lot of awareness and mindfulness in order to tap into really what we need to change, what's working for us, what isn't working for us. And so it's focusing our attention on those things when we tend to be really super busy in our lives doing, the real world everyday stuff. And so this challenge for 3 days is to take your mind off of just the everyday, routines that we're in, and start thinking about some of these things that can really increase your happiness. So tune in, for these 3 days, pretty hard, so that you can really start to think about these things. If once you start thinking about how you, once you start realizing that you do have control over this stuff, it's also important that we, think about how we want to feel in our relationships. Sometimes when we have challenging relationships, we will say, that we don't, or we'll think that we just kind of want to feel just indifferent, like we would just kind of like to feel some peace in the relationship. But I'm going to, over this 3 days, keep reminding you guys that isn't the feeling necessarily that we should settle for. We can have good relationships with people that we don't think we can, if we want to. It's up to us. It's a decision that we make. So I want you guys to remember that, and think about how you want to feel, and start, that's what we're going to start working towards. when you do have, we're going to today in our PDF assignment that you should have in your inbox, we're going to start looking at some relationships in our lives where we get to pick, which relationships are either challenging to us that we feel need worked on, or ones that we'd really like to build on to just make stronger. And so in this assignment today, that's what we're going to do. We're going to take those people, make a list of those people, and we're going to start kind of looking into the things that we can do to increase love from our end of things in those relationships. And that's not, love is kind of a funny thing, because we a lot of the times will feel like if someone has wronged us, then we can't love them. Whether it's we don't feel like we should because we don't necessarily trust ourselves to keep away from them if we need to. Sometimes it can be a protection type thing. We don't want to love them, because they don't deserve our love, or whatever it is. And so this is something that, it's kind of like when you are worrying, or when you are, when you're angry, or you can't forgive someone, it only affects you. This is that same concept. So if you can try and find things about people that are challenging to you that you can love, that's where you start on rebuilding a relationship. You don't have to do this, and you can keep it to yourself. You can love people and not ever let on that you're having feelings of love for them. But the feeling of love feels a lot better than the feelings of animosity, and the feelings of frustration, and the feelings of anger, and disappointment, and a lot of the things that we preoccupy our minds with about people that are in our lives. Those are can become our go-to feelings when we think about those people. So start trying to shift those. Start thinking about the actual good qualities that people do have, and build from there. So start on a foundational, something that you can find that you admire about somebody or that is good about them, and focus more on that. So that is one thing. The PDF also, it breaks down some bullet points on topics. And one of the things that it talks about a little bit is, how can I wonder if it popped up in I was going to use it for, here we go. One moment. All right. So, oh, there we go. Okay. So sometimes we have challenging relationships that need some repair work done. And so, we can, the most obvious relationships that have strain are usually people that are in our lives frequently, or are close to us, like our spouses, our siblings, our parents, our in-laws. Sometimes if we're married and they have an ex that, a step child situation, sometimes that's a challenge. So those relationships, where sometimes we don't want to be friendly with, friends with somebody, but we just need a way to cope in that relationship, and how to get through it or whatever. And so in those situations, sometimes there needs to be a conversation, and sometimes we just need to change our attitude a little bit towards them, just to handle things a little bit. And so with the when you're trying to repair a relationship, there's a need a lot of the time. Say hi, by the way, so that I know who's on. All I know is Amanda said hi, and that's the only person I can see anyway. So when you're trying to repair a relationship with somebody, one of the things that keeps people from repairing them is a fear of vulnerability. We don't want to, when we have conflict with somebody else and we feel maybe that they've already judged us in the past or something like that, it's really challenging. It takes a really big person to go to that other person and be vulnerable about their feelings and say, hey, like, this is where I'm coming from. You know, I was feeling this way, or I was feeling that way. You know, those are hard conversations to have. However, I've learned for myself and my clients that when you do that, if you show a little vulnerability to somebody, your humanity, you know, show your humanity to them, let them know that you're not perfect, and just own a little bit of the situation, usually people are extremely receptive. It can really actually shock people, like, you know, like a lot, to have that happen. I've had a situation like this happen to me before, where it was such a relief. You know, it was just like, oh, you know, like that's sort of what I thought was happening, but now it's just like validation that it's going to be okay. We can get through this or whatever. And so I encourage you guys, when you're doing this assignment today, to think about some of those people that you might not feel it's possible with. You know, sometimes we just don't. We're like, oh, that was just such a big blow up, or, you know, that was such a big thing that we just can't get past that. And you know, apologizing is something that you know, that it doesn't necessarily take away all the blame. You know, you can say that you're sorry for your part in things or in something. Even, you know, even the smallest little olive branch you can hand to them is going to be a huge opening. So for some of you guys that do that over this week to people, just stay strong in that and just do it anyway. It only lasts a second. It's literally like tearing off a Band-Aid. So if that's you, then hugs to you. So when you're not feeling loving towards somebody because they, you know, might be difficult to love, you know, like you've been through a lot of stuff with them, just remember that that only hurts you. That doesn't hurt them. So even if you don't necessarily want to have a relationship with that person, or you don't want to build on anything, try and still get to a place where you can see them in a loving way inside yourself, so that it feels better to yourself. Because every time that we have a negative feeling or emotion, it takes away from a positive feeling or emotion. So let's just try and switch those, you know, swap those out as much as we can when we recognize them. So, you know, love, that's the thing about this, is love doesn't necessarily benefit them. You know, we think that if we love somebody, we're like, God, we don't want to, you know, like we don't, it's hard to love somebody we don't even really like, you know, like, why do we want to do that? You know, it seems so, but that is ego, right? That's ego. That's just us being, you know, that's not love, right? That's not unconditional love. That is, you know, animosity. That's just brewing and continuing on the, you know, the negativity. So just remember that, you know, the hate that we feel for people, we get to enjoy that all by ourselves, right? It doesn't do anything for them. It just does it to us. And it hurts us, it injures us, and it causes problems in our relationships moving forward from them. But, you know, if we can look at someone, see the horrible, you know, thing that they did or whatever, and still find love for them, that's a really powerful thing. And it changes your life when you are able to do that. So, you know, it goes both ways. Nothing can keep you from feeling love. And you have to decide to feel love for somebody, right? I mean, you have to decide either way, whether you're going to love somebody or you're not going to love somebody. And when we say we don't love somebody, or we fell out of love with somebody, or we just can't love somebody, that's not the truth. That's a decision we're making. That's just the truth, because you can change your mind. You can decide differently. You don't have to at all, you know, because you can have whatever feelings you want to have. That's up to you. It's completely your own. So we're just deciding to be happier by choosing other thoughts. So we, you know, for example, we can focus on the one thing that somebody did to hurt us, or we can focus on the 10 years before that we were really good friends with them and did a lot of awesome things and they supported us along the way and all this stuff. We can, we can look at that stuff in love and still not want to have a relationship with that person right now, or not want to be around that person or whatever. That's okay. And sometimes it leads to something else anyway. Eventually we can, we can start a new path for us. So I think about my wedding. My wedding was, Deb, you were at my wedding, weren't you? So I think about my wedding, and I think about there was 60, I don't know how many people, 60 or 70 people at my wedding, and it was just the best day. Like, we just had the best time. And I didn't have a lot of people there that I didn't really know. There were a few people I didn't really know, but for the most part was really close to all those people. And I remember looking around at everybody and just feeling madly in love, like, with everybody. Just being like, God, like, every face I saw was, I'd been with him for over 6 years. So his family was my family. His friends were my friends. It was just all these people that were just these beautiful souls to me. And I was just in love with them all. The people I didn't even know, still hugging up on them, that sort of a feeling, right? Yep, I remember. So what if, we could feel that way more often in our lives? What if we could feel that way about just human beings? Like, when we are out and about and doing our things every day, if we could feel like, that is a soul that I love. So I'm getting there. Like, you guys, I'm a whole different person. You guys all know this. I'm a whole different person than I was before. But I literally go to the grocery store and I feel like I love these people. Like, I actually think about, like, there was a school shooting here not too long ago in Spokane, and you start thinking kind of about what would happen if we were at a big event or something and something horrible happened or whatever. I think about the other people, like, the other day, I'm a little dark, I guess, but I walked into the grocery store and was thinking to myself, like, gosh, like, I would feel devastated if anything happened to any one of these people. Like I knew them personally. And I don't know where that came from. I truly don't know where I get these things from, but it affected me. And I was like, I never used to feel those things. I never used to, like, feel connected to other humans. And so that's why I'm so passionate about, spreading love, because I just feel it and I just want other people to feel it. So before I start blubbering all over you guys, but what if, right? Why can't we have that? Why can't we be that way? So it feels amazing. And I just think that we should be feeling more of that. Instead of the alternative, right, which is where we end up a lot of the times, is looking at, judging people, looking at the negative sides of people and all of that. Tim and I have started doing this thing where we randomly buy people's groceries. And the other day, there was a lady in line, and I heard her say, thank God for food stamps. And I just was, like, heartbroken. Like, it just hit me. Like, I just was like, gosh, like, I've been there, I know exactly where she's coming from and everything, but it's still heartbreaking to me because I don't, like, now that I don't feel that way and I don't have to worry about where I'm gonna, how I'm gonna pay my bills and whatever else, it's like really raw to me that other people feel that way. So that's, that is empathy to, I guess, the nth degree. But so what is unconditional love? And do we really practice that? So unconditional love means that you love someone all the time on purpose, regardless of everything. So on purpose, you intentionally love somebody regardless of everything. Regardless of everything. So that's pretty hard to do in the beginning. Like it's, people hurt us, and we don't want to be hurt. The more whole we become as people, however, the less they hurt us. So in some ways, the more damaged we are, the harder we are to make happy, to please, right? We are looking for so many things. We need love. We need confidence. We need, just everything, security, and we want to feel supported, and all these things that we need to feel that we're not giving to ourselves. And so we are looking for everybody else to give us those things, and we get really angry when they're not giving us those things. And in my life, like, I realized, like, that's just not fair. I don't have that right. The people in our lives have the right to be exactly who they are. And if we can't accept that, then we have to either change ourselves or we have to remove ourselves from the situation. But we cannot demand that they change in order to make us feel something. And that's something that I had to get past myself. And it still is challenging, because it is an instinct to, like, when we are rebuffed, or we are feeling like attacked, or we are feeling like someone's not handling a situation appropriately, or whatever it is our instinct to defend ourselves and to get, a little bit just defensive about it. And we blame them for the way that we feel, which it's never their fault for the way that we feel. Even if they're trying to be crappy, even if they're, calling you names or whatever else, if it didn't bother you, then it wouldn't matter, right? It's the same thing as the kid picking on you in the playground. If you ignore it long enough, they're going to go pick on someone else. It's the same thing for us. Our response is what keeps that cycle going. So Deb. Yeah. Okay. So I have had a few people in my life where I took the bigger person role, and just was like where you're at, where I felt tired and exhausted and was like, I can't fight this anymore. How do I handle this? And so I started doing really nice things. Well, the one person I'm thinking of anyway, I started doing really nice things periodically, once a week, once every 2 weeks or whatever, calling or texting. And I don't know your situation. I don't know if that's reasonable. But for me, just showing that that my heart was in it was enough to sort of change the dynamic and fix the situation. If we think about it from the outside, what is the other person saying about us in this situation? Because we usually know somewhat where they're coming from. It comes, we don't, we hear it in a way that we don't really want to hear it, but you can break it down. There's always a feeling behind something that someone says or something that someone does. So what is that feeling that would make them do those things? And when you start looking at it that way, you can start seeing the humanity in them more. You can start seeing, like, okay, so they're probably assuming that my motives are, this or whatever. And you can sort of start seeing the miscommunication and all of that. But you have to step outside of yourself and just, really not be emotional in that. And journaling might help on that one as well. I know I always go back to journaling, but it does help. Meditating, even asking for some, asking God or praying a little bit, asking the universe to help you out with that. Show me, how to do this in a mature way and how to navigate all of this, and see if that helps too as well. That might help too. Let me think here. So I do want to just touch on this for a second. I know I talked about being vulnerable, and in the PDF, I called it authentic vulnerability, because I think that this is important. When we are showing emotion to other people, it really has to be genuine and honest. You can't try and use your emotions to manipulate the situation or manipulate that person into changing or doing something for you to make you feel a specific way, because that can happen a lot. Like, we're crying because we, authentically, we would be crying because we have authentic emotions about something. Not like, like bringing up the crocodile tears to make them respond in a specific way that we want them to. Because we know a lot of the times, we can cry and we can make someone else feel bad, So we don't want that. That's not what we're trying to do here. So I just want to specify that. Being authentically vulnerable is the key to patching up some of this stuff. That means letting them in on your story a little bit, letting them understand why you feel hurt by what they did, and knowing, you have to understand that first before you can do that, which is always a good, it's always good to get your head straight before you, communicate with somebody anyway, but do that for sure. So this week, so the PDF, let's work on being outwardly loving more to the people on your list. So we're going to list that out. Work on being outwardly lovingly, and possibly patching up a difficult situation if you feel that it's, hurting you in some ways. There is, let me see here. Think about the people that you really would like to have better relationships with, or that cause you stress. If you have a relationship that every time you think about it, it kind of puts your stomach in knots or something like that, work on those first. They're usually the scariest ones to work on, but they have the biggest impact on your happiness and on your life going forward. So, remember to, the other thing, make room for everything in your relationships with people. Acknowledge if you're not doing that. If you're expecting perfection, if you're expecting somebody to always know what your wants and needs are and hit those, pay attention to those things and take responsibility for those things. I hate to be dark again, but our relationships are not guaranteed. We lose people all the time, from death and moving away. Like, I've had people unexpectedly move away that were really close to me, and that can be devastating as well. But, nothing is guaranteed. And so, why waste time, having conflict that can just be handled in a conversation or two? It's not worth it. And so, loving people means understanding that we only have a limited time with them, and that, the stupid crap is stupid crap. And and even if it feels big to us, it usually later on we realize it was stupid crap. So just realize that. And that's it, fill yourself up first. So, the assignment today, so if you don't have the PDF, if you didn't get the email, that means that you weren't on the email list. It just means you didn't click on the link and put your email address in for the list. So you can leave that right here in comments, and I will make sure that you get on that list. Or you can, in the group, I posted the link somewhere else that you can sign up for that. But if you just want to comment it, I can take care of that for you. So that we're going to be making that list of any relationships that you want to work on, even if it's just that you feel like someone in your life might need to feel more love. You know, if you have a friend that you know is going through some stuff or whatever else, include them on the list and give them something easy that you can do. You know, just set a date with yourself to call them on Saturday. You know, just something like that. And this has huge impacts. It makes you feel amazing. Not necessarily because even of what, you know, what they're giving you, but when you do something for someone else, it's that whole idea of, you know, paying it forward and having that feeling of I did something good and I appreciate myself for that. So these are some of the ways that we build self-admiration and grow our own self-love, and then we have more to give other people. So it seems backwards because we're giving it away. So how does it fill us up? But it totally does. If we were to just look at love in a selfish way, meaning when we feel love, we feel good, you know? So if we just try and make ourselves feel love more often, it's just reciprocal automatically. It's not something we have to try to do. We love ourselves more. We start, you know, noticing other people and loving other people more, just internally. You know, it starts showing outwardly. You don't have to make big inroads. But this exercise today is just to speed that up. It's just to start, you know, feeling that more, because as you give love, they will reciprocate. They will start showing you more love, and they will start reaching out to you more and giving you more. I had a realization probably, I don't know, 6 months ago, 8 months ago. It was last winter or fall. And I had this realization that I had a lot of built up sort of animosity for people who didn't contact me regularly. You know, I guess I needed to know that they were thinking about me. And so I was feeling like kind of neglected and maybe a little rejected. And so I, for months, didn't reach out to any, maybe even, you know, 6 months or a year. I was just kind of like, if they don't want to talk to me, then I'm not going to call them or whatever. And I had this big realization of how silly that was, you know, that I was, you know, so upset. I was so upset. Every time I would think about it, I would be so sad and feel so rejected by people, because I'd be like, gosh, nobody has contacted me. It was the same thing, you know, on my birthday every year, and I've talked about that before, when things don't go as planned, like you invite people over for, you know, a Tupperware party and nobody shows up. That's something that I hear all the time. People are like, I don't even want to have a get together because I'm so afraid that nobody's going to show up. So those types of things can drastically change as soon as you start changing your own vibe around love. And it's not that right now people don't want to be around you. That's not it at all. It's almost like out of sight, out of mind, you know, where, you know, you haven't heard from that person in a long time, and you know, they're doing their own thing, and that's what it is more than anything. It's not that anybody's intentionally trying to hurt us most of the time. So we have to get out of our own heads, get out of, you know, the all of the negative emotions, the feeling sorry for ourselves, the feeling like, you know, things just happen to us, you know, that we're just victims in this. Because that's huge. That's huge. That's what keeps most people back, is they don't think they have control over their own happiness. So that's, you know, back to what I've said in that was like the first thing I said in this video, I think, is that you have to believe that you have ultimate control over your own happiness. Otherwise, it won't be true. You just won't. You'll just keep living life and letting everything happen to you, and you'll just always think that, you know, everything's just happening to you. And as soon as you decide and you realize, like, okay, I'm just going to believe it. I'm just going to believe for a while that whatever I decide is going to make me happy. I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to keep following those breadcrumbs. That's how your life changes. You know, it doesn't happen like I didn't, you know, I've gone through so many different things in my life to get to right where I am today. And when, where I am, I think about this, and when I say breadcrumbs, that's because that's the way I think about my journey. It's all of the little breadcrumbs, all the little things that I changed one thing at a time, all of the relationships that I worked on individually, one at a time, because I knew that they needed work. It isn't an overnight thing, and we want it to be an overnight thing, but it just gradually gets better and better to where you just don't have these worries and concerns that you had anymore. And you have healthy relationships, and the relationships that aren't healthy aren't really in your life anymore. Like I don't have any of the drama I used to have before. I was thinking about that the other day. People don't even post on my posts negative stuff anymore, where I used to be in arguments constantly with people about things on my Facebook timeline. And I am more authentic, and I say I have more opinions, I think, than I ever did before. But maybe, I know I say them in a different way, and I'm more aware of things. I'm not judging. I don't feel like I'm judging other people in my posts like I used to. Because I have more grace. I'm holding space for people. I understand that people are growing and that they're not necessarily where they need to be. So I don't need to go on and like shame people, and that sort of stuff, where before my tone might have been more shaming and blaming and, attacking. And so, those things. So this is where we start. And, I don't know. I think that today is going to be a good starting point for you guys. So get those workbooks printed out, and then, or get the workbook, because you only have one right now. Get the workbook printed out. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk to you guys about self-care and stress management. We're going to talk a little bit about boundaries and protecting ourselves from, external situations that stress us out and stuff. So that one should be really good as well. Like I said, get on the email list, because tomorrow's document will come out tomorrow about an hour before we do our video. So, and if you have friends that you want to take part in this, it's not too late. And we have another 3-day challenge starting next week over nutrition. So nutrition and mindset and stuff. So that one doesn't start till next week. So there's time for them to get in and do both of these. And then it is early registration only until, I actually increased early registration for the Academy until the end of the day on Thursday. And so you guys can still have an opportunity to get in on that if you want to. Message me if you have any questions, and I'll take care of that. So do you have any questions before I hop off? If you do, I will answer them real quick. Sometimes I don't know how I talk so long. I look at the clock and I'm like, I cannot believe it has already been 40 minutes. All right. So love you guys so much. Like seriously, holding space for you. I'm here for you guys. If you need anything, post in the group if you want to. I would love, I'm going to be posting in here as well about this, because I would really love you guys to share any things that you do this week that like take some courage. If you do repair any relationships, I'd love to hear about something like that. Or if you are increasing your love by doing a specific thing, if you're going to send out some greeting cards, or if you're going to, do a text message type thing, or if you're going to call some people, whatever you're going to do, I would love to hear your ideas, because there's so many things. Picking flowers is going to be happening soon. Even going and buying some carnations and just giving those to a few people, things like that. There's tons of things you can do. I'll even try and Google some and get some ideas for you guys, and maybe post it in the group here in a little bit, because that would be awesome. I think we could all use some ideas on how to spread love. So, all right, spreading love to you guys as well. So, mwah, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you guys tomorrow also at 2 p.m. as well. Have a good day.